I will be summarizing my recent trades by asset class in this video first, and we'll then discuss Trump's recent authoritarian statements about ending mail-in voting by executive order, which I also discuss in today's blog post. I did publish a post earlier today, August 19th, 2025, discussing most of my recent trades over the past few days. I have a link to my blog in my YouTube profile section. Just click SouthGen and you will see the link. I have been publishing posts there since October 2008. The most significant changes were one, selling 10 corporate bonds, $1,000 par values that have maturities in the 2032 and 2036 time period. I recently bought those bonds at discounts to par value and have sold them at premiums to par value. Par value is $1,000 per bond. I'm slightly reducing my interest rate risk by lightening up on those longer duration intermediate term corporate bonds. Two, buying $20,000 in treasury bills principal amount at auction. Three, selling 100 shares of a TC Energy Canadian Reset preferred stocks for a CAD, Canadian dollar, $763 profit. Selling Canadian Reset equity preferred stocks has taken my Canadian dollar position in my Interactive Brokers account to over 60,000 CADs. For selling an exchange traded bond ARGD symbol at greater than par value that is about to be called at par value. And five, I went into a lightening up mode again in my stock allocation exposure. The shift out of intermediate term corporate bonds is due to my concern about inflation heating up later this year and throughout 2026. All of the bonds that I own, I can hold to maturity, and it is important to me when I buy them at discounts to par value that I know to the penny what my total return will be when the bond matures or is called early. And that differentiates owning individual corporate bonds from bond funds that do not promise to pay a sum certain on a date certain. The 3, 4, and 6 month Treasury bill rates are currently reflecting in their investment rates a near certain 25 basis point cut in the Fed funds rate in September. But the odds are moving down some since I last mentioned the odds at being close to 95% in my last blog. And that is probably due to the much hotter than expected producer price inflation in July. My largest stock sector weighting is in equity real estate investment trusts, which are benefiting today by a private equity non-binding offer to acquire Plymouth Industrial REIT, symbols PLYM, at $24.10 per share in cash. The stock closed at $14.64 yesterday. I sold some shares that I owned earlier today, August 19th. I pointed out in a comment that I published earlier today to today's blog that this offer may cause at least some REIT investors to reassess the value of their properties that are owned by REITs. The value of Plymouth established by the cash offer for its stock is way out of line with the market valuation that the market was placing on the shares yesterday. The CME FedWatch tool, which uses the federal funds futures contracts to estimate future probabilities of Fed rate cuts or increases, as the case may be, had the odds of a 25 basis point cut at the Fed September meeting at around 83% earlier today when I last looked, which is lower than a week ago. There will be one more CPI report before the next Fed meeting. If the annual core CPI rises above the 3.1%, which was the annual rate through July 2025, then it would be foolish, in my opinion, for the Fed to cut the rate. A 4.25 to 4.5% range is actually too low, with inflation increasing above the current levels. If you had the experience that I had of having to invest during a very high, prolonged, problematic inflationary period, which was from the mid-60s to the early 80s, you would understand that the reason why I consider problematic inflation to be more important for the Fed to stop than to possibly reduce the unemployment rate a few tenths of a percent by cutting interest rates. You want to avoid a long period of problematic inflation at all costs. Trump said that he was going to issue an executive order that will, quote, end mail-in ballots, end quote. About 1/3 of the votes, as I recall, in the last election were cast by mail-in ballots. They're used in Republican and Democratic controlled states. The Constitution provides that the states are responsible for the time and manner of conducting elections, but that may be changed in Trump's America, as we are well aware of now, by executive order, without having to go through the cumbersome process of amending the Constitution. Trump also falsely claimed again that the U.S. was the only country that permitted mail-in voting. He has to know, or could easily determine, that that statement is false. 30 countries allow it. Trump is the primary creator of fake news in the world today. Our dear leader claimed that he had the authority to tell the states what to do since they, quote, are an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes, end quotes, and that, quote, they must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do, end quote. For the good of our country is in all cap letters, which in Trump's world makes it even more true. It's just pure Orwellian nonsense. Trump claimed to have the backing of the Republican Party for his executive order to end mail-in voting. Trump also said that he was going to target with an executive order voting machines. In 2020, he wanted the military to seize the voting machines. While that was resisted then, and successfully so, by the Defense Secretary, there would be no resistance now from Hegseth, as a guy that he is running the Defense Department, incredibly, as that may seem for us old people. So what is Trump trying to do? He is afraid that policies that he is pursuing will lead the Democrats to winning back the House in 2026 and possibly the Senate as well. That fear is causing him now to take numerous steps to ensure that the Republicans remain in power after the midterms, through even more partisan gerrymandering in red states to take away the few districts that they have allowed the Democrats to hold as of the last election, with Texas being the first to comply with Trump's order to engage in further gerrymandering. And Trump will also use other measures to end democracy in America by including the distinct possibility that he will cause Hegseth to seize voting machines in close elections in 2026, and also by restricting or even eliminating mail-in voting that is used by more Democrats than Republicans. All of that is done in Trump's view to make America great again and for the good of our country, which would no longer be a democracy if he is successful, and that must be construed as to be his objective. As General Kelly noted before the 2024 election, he was the four-star retired Marine general and a former Trump chief of staff, that Trump fits the definition of fascist and prefers the dictator approach to governing. But I would submit that voters already knew that prior to the 24 election, or have to be presumed to have known it given the evidence spanning more than a decade, and elected him to another 4-year term as president anyways. And Trump has repeatedly confirmed so far in his second term, in my opinion, the observations made by Kelly and General Milley, Trump's former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said that Trump was a fascist. None of this is news to me. It's more of the same, except it's on steroids now. It's like almost every day that something is being done along those lines.